All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My brothers and sisters over at YouTube, it's Pastor Dowell here. I want to do a video here this morning, and I want to talk about ownership and liability. I am at our community in Straitway, Georgia. This is our one of two communities that we have in Straitway. This is not the one that Elder Rufus is at. This is the other community that we have in Straitway, Georgia. Brother Robert, Sister Deidre here on this land right here, living next door to Mount Muncie. I want to keep y'all informed. I have a debate coming up. Of course, you know there's a lot of things being said, neither here nor say, but I have a debate coming up, and at least one thing I know we can probably agree on is the dietary law, and that's probably going to be one of the subjects. Who knows? But anyway, we'll get to it. Ownership, liability, ownership and liability. All right, so let's get to it. If you're not a patron, you may want to consider becoming a patron because I talk about stuff like this all of the time. Before I get going into this video, let's talk about life in general in itself. You cannot continue to keep doing the things that you've always done and expect change, because if you do, it's never going to change. If you're going to be someone, you've got to follow the tenets, the obedience, the disciplines of whatever you're in. That's just the truth of it. And you must learn about the very system that you're in. And that's one thing I think that people have not done in the American system right here, is that I don't think too many people have really truly tried to comprehend the system, the economic system that the American government has given us. Once you do understand it and comprehend it, when you hear me make statements like get out of debt, get out of cities, don't go out there and go buy a property and stuff and pay rent, in which you're going to end up giving somebody money for land that they owned, and you're helping them pay their bills. Now, you do get the benefit of actually staying there, but you're paying rent. It's not something that you own yourself. And of course, in this world, in this society that we live in, everybody thinks that unless you, in other words, you don't have anything unless your name is on it. That's the way people think. If you have your name on it, they believe at that particular time that ownership, it equates to prosperity. It equates to you having things. It equates to you being able to show exactly what you own, what you have. All right. And I'm going to try to do my best to help us out here just for a brief moment here this morning. First of all, think about this for a second. The first question that should be asked is, does the rich think the way that we have been conditioned to think? I mean, I'll give an example here, okay? Let me give you an example, okay? Here's a 2020 Dodge Ram. It's a 2500 Super Duty, heavy duty truck, all right? And there is a 2018 Cadillac Escalade, okay? So a lot of times when people see these particular vehicles in the video, automatically the first thing that people would associate with, okay, all right, so look at Pastor Dowell. It's amazing. It's like pastors can't never have nothing in this world. It makes no difference to them how much they see me physically work with these rough looking hands right here. It makes no idea how much they see me building. It makes no idea how much they see me doing all different types of things, because, as far as a pastor go, I have a couple of income streams, or a couple of income opportunities that I use that is outside of the scope of the ministry. The difference between me is that if I learn something, I try to make sure that I teach it to people so they can prosper in a way. But the illusion is that when they see this, all right, they automatically assume that I have ownership of it. And no matter how much I tell them, I want y'all to listen to me very, very closely. Listen to me real closely. I don't own these vehicles. I don't own neither one of these vehicles, but I do have controlling interest in them. Now, I said a mouthful right there, because the last thing you want to do in this world, in this economy, in this American system, the last thing you want to do is own something, because as soon as your name is on something as far as ownership, you incur, watch this, liability. When you incur liability, that means anybody who wants to be sue happy, or anybody who wants to use you as a target, they can use this system, because some people understand the way that this system runs. They can actually use this system to come after you, sue you, and then because of being tied up in the way that this system is concerning ownership, all right, they can actually take from you what you called yours because your name is associated with it. Now, the rich, they operate like this: own nothing while controlling everything. I'm not rich. Many of us, matter of fact, a lot of us, probably 95% of the world just simply ain't rich. Probably more than that. And if 95% of us are not rich whatsoever at all, then why are we still trying to live like the 95% of the people in the world who, every time something happens, I don't care whatever it is, we always end up in that court system. We go into that court system, we feel like we've been raped, we've been robbed, we've been mutilated, and the whole 9 yards. All right? But if you have your name associated with something in this world, that's what the system wants you to do. But I'm telling you right now, that ain't the way the rich operates. The rich operates on the premise of you own nothing while you control everything. For instance, I don't have my name on this vehicle. Now, when I first purchased both these vehicles, I purchased them both in my name. Since then, I have moved them into an entity, and I'm going to use that. And no, it wasn't an LLC, and it wasn't a C corp. It wasn't none of that stuff. And don't worry about it. Okay, we'll get to that later on. But the ideal is that you want to be able to live free in this world, and you don't want something to happen in this vehicle right here, because it's a possibility to happen. And then the next thing you know, because your name is associated with it, you got an insurance company adjuster, or you have an insurance company, you have the attorneys for those insurance companies and stuff that can literally come after you. And then if they can't come after you based on the amount of insurance that you have gotten on this vehicle in order to cover you and the uninsured motors, or the motors that end up in accident, then they come after your assets. I promise you. I just got finished dealing with somebody in the ministry where another brother was driving a vehicle that was owned by a brother, and I even had it up at Straitway happen like that. That's one reason why I had to change a lot of stuff, because people just couldn't stop running into folks. And next thing you know, they kick the traces. They have nothing on their insurance, no points, no strikes. Their name is not associated with it because, we're letting them use our vehicles. We incur the liability because the name is on it. So I said, like I said many, many years ago, we got to change a lot of this. So anyway, I had a brother have an accident, and then the woman ended up in critical condition, and the insurance would only cover $25,000 of her hospital bills. And of course, since it was only covering that much, the brother ended up getting a phone call from the attorney of the woman, and they was going to do a title search to see what lands or any type of assets that individual had owned. And while doing this, they're looking for a way for this woman to continue on her treatments and continue to go off into your back pocket, thereby impoverishing you, taking everything you want. That's like I said over and over again. If you've been listening to me 10, 15, 20 years, I cannot understand for the life of me why you're still out there renting land. Why are you out there still paying rent? in an apartment or a home or whatever. Listen. I understand you can do that for a year or two while you are amassing some wealth to be able to make a move. So when you do make a move, you buy the land, and when you buy the land, you buy it all out up front, and then you watch this, own that. As soon as you own that land, or if you already have something set up, like I teach over at Patron, then if you purchase that land in that particular entity, you still get to live on that land. You still get to be the controlling interest of that land. But if somebody comes on there and a tree limb falls out and scratches the back of their hand and stuff, they can't sue you. Are you following me? Because that's what most people try to do. They try to sue people who they believe has assets, has money. In any way, shape, fashion, form, they don't care what it is. And so even though that the lady did turn around and say that, she's fine and good and she signed off on it, she will not be pursuing any more legal or lawful reasons and stuff for this particular quote-unquote accident. What it should have taught everybody out there, and this is your first time hearing it, so I'm teaching right now, what it should teach us is that it is not wise as an individual, for you as an individual in this world, to have your name associated with vehicles, associated with lands, associated with pretty much any damn thing. I mean, for instance, all right, you've got, let's look at Bill and Melinda Gates. They have a foundation. Look at Hillary and Bill Clinton. They have a foundation called Clinton Foundation. Now their name says Clinton, but it's a foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Then people have trust, and they have all kind of stuff. In other words, they have things put into particular entities that their personal wealth and liability is divested from it, and they themselves, while they have controlling interests, they don't own anything. Anybody remember the story about the Kennedys and the cat? John F. Kennedy and all them, they got rich off of bootlegging. You know what I mean? Just basically a bunch of boot. Back then it was called firewater. It was illegal, unlawful. They were immoral people, blase, blase, blase. But as soon as the government found a way they could tax the firewater, tax the distillers, tax the liquor and stuff, all of a sudden it became pretty good to do, because therefore nobody could be like a good fella and just, running booze out of one end and then selling it on the back end, and the government don't get no taxes. As soon as the government is able to tax something, then it's all right. It's kind of like marijuana. Marijuana's been this bad thing and everything and stuff. And man, how many people been thrown in jail because of marijuana? How many people been thrown in jail because of crack, opioids, all this other stuff? But as soon as they're able to put taxes on it, it's all good now, because it's quote unquote, here it is, look at this, legal. See, they're toying around with our minds. They're playing with us. And they're playing on the stupidity and the ignorance that we've all been associated with. That's what they're doing. So anyway, the worst thing you can do in this world is have your name associated with anything that will help you incur liability. So anyway, Kennedy's cat, they scratched someone. They thought that since it was the Kennedys and stuff, guess what? Man, we're getting ready to get millions of dollars. But guess what? They had that cat in a trust. And so guess what the people end up getting? The cat that scratched them, because the cat is the one that incurred a liability because it's part of the trust. And the Kennedys didn't get sued like they assumed that it was, because they assumed that the Kennedys was operating after this system like they teach the rest of the 99 or 95% of the dumb people in this world that refuse to study, that refuse to listen, they refuse to adhere, they refuse to change their mind and learn how to operate. That's like, I have things set up, and I'm getting things set up in succession as far as all the lands and everything that you would say we own. It's in a particular entity that will be running for over 200 something years. I tell you, well, how do you learn about this stuff? Well, we talk about it over on my Patreon channel. I keep saying over and over again, you want to learn about this stuff, become a patron. I don't have time to really truly cast my pearls before swine, because you all know how many trolls there are out here on YouTube. It's just nonsensical. I mean, people don't have a life. They're not going to go anywhere. 5 years from now, they're still going to be in the same place. Kind of like you got people who say they're Israelites, and yet and still they don't have a garden. They don't have any lands. They have nothing to associate themselves with being an Israelite, but just the words is dropping off the edge of their lips, and some crazy looking garments and stuff that they're associated with this modern day Hebrewism and stuff like that. But and to be a true Israelite, that means that you would have to actually be an agricultural people, and to be an agricultural people, you got to own lands. You got to be able to plant. You got to be able to raise livestock. And that's just a fact. Anyway, I'll talk more about this over my Patreon channel and stuff. I just thought I'd come over here and get the feet wet on this particular channel over here on YouTube. I talk about it over Patreon. Now, if you want more wisdom to understand what I'm saying, then follow me. But as you can see, I don't own these, believe it or not, but I do have controlling interests. I can use them for my benefit any way, shape, fashion, or form I want. Amazing, isn't it? May the Most High give you understanding. You got ears to hear, hear. And remember, a lot of times we simply can't hear without a preacher, because faith comes by hearing. Hearing comes by the word of Yah. And how can he hear without a preacher? How can he preach except he be sent? Then the book says, how beautiful are the feet. They're them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. I just got finished bringing you a bunch of glad tidings. Hope it benefits you. Shalom, shalom.